Ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha. This is not a gaming news video, nor is it a review. If that is what you're looking for, then perhaps you should wait until tomorrow, as I will have an additional video that more fits that format that you're expecting to. This is me discussing and puzzling through a question that I've been consistently asked at least once per day, either via social media, video comments, DMs, or email for a very long time, and that is the question, why are so many of your videos negative? And I know I've touched on this before, but I don't recall having actually directly answered this type of question at this level of depth. However, I will take a moment to run through the week's sponsorship spot because screw YouTube and its busted algorithm. Yes, that's right, I went and got a sponsor because YouTube ad revenue is beyond garbage right now. Of course, I don't want to promote any sort of mobile game or any of that nonsense, so I chose to go with Ridge Wallet. These guys sent me my own Ridge wallet, which I chose the carbon fiber wallet because I'm a big fan of uniform branding, and I like it far more than I originally thought I would. The Ridge wallet is small, yet effective, with a sleek design that holds up to 12 cards plus room for your cash that can also easily fit in your front pocket. There are over 30 colors to choose from, plus they also sell phone cases, bags, and even a knife. And the Ridge team are so confident that you'll like these wallets, they're willing to allow you to test drive them for 45 days, which, if you don't love the wallet, simply send it back for a full refund. So get your Ridge wallet today with free worldwide shipping and returns by going to ridge.com/SidAlpha and use the code SidAlpha for 10% off your order. Link is in the description below. The question, why are so many of your videos negative, is in actuality a good one. Some of it is perspective of the viewer. Some of it is perhaps a lack of understanding, maybe because of the tone of my voice, which tends to be deeper and sometimes cold, dispassionate, and maybe it just sounds naturally angry to some people, I don't know. And I realize that in discussions with other content creators that they tend to receive a fair amount of the same feedback, so perhaps my body of work is more skewed than I realize, but then again, at the same time, maybe there's a reason for that as well. Before we go too much into the topic as to the reason why this seems to be the case, I do have to address a very common response that I see to these sort of questions within the video comments. He does it for clicks. He does it for views, which seems to me to be a very automatic and incorrect assumption on their part. But where did they get this assumption from? One need only look at so many other YouTubers to know the answer to that. RiceGum, Keemstar, H3H3, Jake and Logan Paul, and more than half of the cosmetic YouTubers out there to name but a few, where we tend to see that sort of behavior be the most prevalent. Whether it be small-minded stunts or attempts to cultivate and then subsequently feed off of the drama that they generate. That sort of behavior very much is an attempt to foster views, likes, and shares in order to garner as much ad revenue and viewer donations as possible. And so it's no small wonder that those people that automatically assume such a thing are doing so, because they see so many content creators behaving in that way that that's just what they come to expect. It has literally become so widespread that it is just generally assumed to be the case for all of us. But what my channel is about, what it relies on above all else in order to even exist, is trust. And that is something that so many people are incapable of learning when it comes to YouTubers in general these days. And it's not just YouTubers, it's everywhere. It is with traditional media sites such as VG247, Polygon, Kotaku, Rock Paper Shotgun, One Angry Gamer, and so very many others. Sites that sit there and preach to you that their own self-described versions of politics and societal norms in general is the only method of thinking, and they paint anyone who steps outside of their mode of thinking as someone worthy of disdain and of contempt, which to my own personally held beliefs makes them worthy of contempt themselves. How do you trust a YouTuber that is only seeking to maximize their financial benefit from views and are willing to incite drama and lie to do so? How do you trust media sites that do little more than proselytize and preach instead of doing their job that they are supposed to be doing? And when it is the type of thing that is so prevalent, how do you trust anyone within those spheres? There is a lot of craziness within the United States, if not the world right now. Media lying and misrepresenting facts on a daily basis, no matter their political biases. Trust is at an all-time low, and so it's no wonder that there will invariably be a great many people that simply look on my channel and say, well, he does it for the views. But I will tell you this. As I've stated earlier in this video and countless times in the past, my channel relies on trust in order to exist, and thankfully a great many people do seem to hold that trust and that faith in me, and believe me, I'm extremely grateful for that and I always will be. And a lot of that trust that I garner is because I do not lie to my viewers. Do I sometimes get things wrong? Sure, of course I do. I am a human being, after all. I'm not perfect. I might not always be 100% right, but I will never lie to you. I owe it to myself. I owe it to my family and my friends. I owe it to all of you to maintain honesty, because that is paramount. If I ever lied to any of you, then how could you possibly believe me or anything I ever say to you? How could you trust that I'm being fair in my critique? How can you know that I'm not being bought off in some way if I'm not being honest? You can't. And without that trust, well, there really wouldn't be too much of a purpose for this channel to even exist now, would there? A critique is of extreme importance within this industry. You've all heard me say this countless times before, and it holds true every bit as much today as it did 5 years ago when I started this channel, or a decade ago, or 30 years ago. But to blindly assume that I quote-unquote do it for the clicks is a thing that I personally find laughable in the extreme. Do you guys know how much money I tend to make on a 10-minute video? Maybe $30 if I'm lucky. So if you think an extra 1 or 5,000 views is going to severely enrich me as a content creator, well, you would be plainly mistaken. In fact, that's why I agreed to the sponsorship with Ridge Wallet. Because YouTube sure as hell isn't going to pay the bills anytime soon. In fact, I earned less in ad revenue and YouTube premium income on my channel in 2020 than I did in 2019 on a per 1,000 views basis. So why is it then that my channel seems to be so negative in the eyes of some? Well, for some of them, they've been around for years, and they remember that before, the majority of the content on my channel was video game first impressions critique, and I only occasionally dipped into critique on the industry and the actions of developers and publishers as a whole. Whereas now, that has become very much flipped. Now, critique of developers and publishers is an all-time high, and only occasionally will I offer up a first impressions video. But why has that happened? Part of it is due to a natural progression of things where people want my opinion more and more on industry topics, and because it feels fairly natural to begin tackling those larger topics. But I can understand the desire for people to want to see good games be praised, to be shown a good game that they would be able to go and enjoy for themselves. A new Diamond Devs video is a hotly requested thing, and yes, I'm about halfway through creating one of those right now. A development team that was recommended to me by my friend Rachel Messer that, after investigating them a bit, I felt very much belonged on that list. And the thought process I have here in terms as to why people are asking this is because people are so bombarded with negativity that video games, a place for enjoyment in either spending time with friends, spending time by oneself, or a place where one can simply stop worrying about the world for a few hours, is now seeming to become just as dark and as ugly as the real world. And that is, believe it or not, exactly what I feel gaming should be, a place of enjoyment. A place where you can blow up demons or alien creatures with one game, or enjoy a game that is such a masterful creative work that it should be recognized as an art form, such as Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons, or Journey, such as Stories, The Path of Destinies, or even Abzu. And it is that exact sort of thing that I wish to protect, and I think that is the most direct focus on why so many people see my videos as negative. Because I call out shady publishers and developers, because I make people aware of indie developers that are engaging in asset flipping, or conducting review manipulation, or scamming, threatening their players, and all sorts of things. It's a terrible thing, and there's no small wonder that people view them as negative. But to my mind, they aren't negative, at least not in the same light. Each time a Dirty Dev video is posted, I'm able to warn my viewers not to waste their money on these developers or this game. And judging from the comments on many of those videos, it does have that effect for some, allowing people to spend their money on a game they might actually enjoy while not supporting a developer that would piss on their heads given half a chance. And of course, some people will ask, why don't you do both? Why not do a healthier mix between the two? After all, I used to be able to do that, so why not anymore? And the answer to that is, well, life. It's not out of any desire for more money, nor is it out of any lack of desire to do more game critiques. It basically boils down to other responsibilities. I'm a father, after all, and I work a day job in an industry that attempts to require more and more of my time with each passing year. In the early days on my channel, I was a bench tech, handling hardware repairs, replacements, operating system repairs, virus removals, and the like. And now, a few years later, I'm a project manager that is tasked with handling a staggering amount of varying disciplines and roles. My responsibilities, as well as general working knowledge, have greatly increased, and as such, my free time has dramatically decreased. We see it even now, where at one point in time I was able to produce videos daily, whereas now I'm lucky if I can get out 1, 2, or possibly 3 videos per week. And that rate of upload would decrease if I continued on with reviews. So no, while there is no real desire to engage in clickbaiting or rage baiting, I recognize where I'm at, what I can do, and do my very best to protect the industry and hobby that I so very much love. Because it does need protecting from the shady and unscrupulous developers. So, should I engage more in what people would consider to be more positive content? Sure, of course I can. But I'm only one man who is unable to give up his day job because of the financial realities of the world. After all, I'm not like some larger creator. I don't make thousands or tens of thousands on Patreon or Ko-Fi or Coffee or whatever every month. I'm also highly cognizant of the fact that I'm a YouTuber, not a Twitch streamer, and because of that, direct monetization of one's audience is an extreme fraction of what you tend to see on that site. Now, that's not to say that I'm ungrateful to those that do support me on Patreon and Ko-Fi or Coffee or whatever. I absolutely am. You help make it possible for my daughter to get the level of care and support that she does, and how could I possibly be ungrateful for that? I mean, maybe if I hated my daughter, but we all know that's very much not the case. In fact, that very same thing is where the Ridge Wallet sponsorship money went to. So those that are disgusted with me quote-unquote selling out over something like that, well, those people can spin on it. No, I'm forced to mostly rely on income from my day job and whatever donations and ad revenue I do get, and as such, I don't have the free time necessary to devote to video game reviews. Plus, on top of that, I do want to see this industry get better. Video games are the most unique, varied, and enjoyable forms of entertainment that we have ever seen. They have the capacity to combine the most amazing elements of a novel, all of the action and emotional impact of a movie, and combine those into an interactive medium that allows you, the player, to determine the outcome of that process. It can be as light and humorous as you need, as dark and gritty as you would like, or as filled with bone-chilling terror as one might wish. It can introduce you to characters that the player can grow and develop a very strong kinship with, not unlike a friendship, and take those friends on an epic journey with you. After all, how could we forget the best bro in the galaxy, Garrus Vakarian? But there are those in the video games industry, a great many in fact, that see it as either a tool for the excesses of corporate greed at the expense of creativity, such as we see with the AAA industry, or for simpler and more base greed, such as money laundering or money printing with asset flippers or dirty devs. Either way, they care far less about the creative endeavor that is video games and care far more about lining their pockets. Because, to my mind, a good game and a profitable game should not be mutually exclusive. And so I would see a course correction within this industry to hold better to those higher ideals of a good and enjoyable game that can be profitable for the developers. That is the ideal that I wish to protect, and while yes, my content may seem negative to some, it is not without a purpose, and it is not the purpose that some seem to assume. So will I do more video games critiques? Maybe. Possibly, as time allows. Will I continue to do my best to help guide this industry in my own small and insignificant way? Yes, very much so. Because these days, honesty and integrity, and more importantly, creativity, seem to appear to be disappearing from the games industry, and I would see it return. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha, and I'll see you next time.